Jenny Turner with Lovejoy Real Estate. We're here today to talk to Courtney Webster with CW Decorating. She's a stager that we've been using in a lot of our listings and having great success. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about that in the process.
My name is Courtney Webster. I am the owner of CW Decorating, and I am a stager here in Northwest Portland.
Awesome. How did you get into staging? How did you just wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna go put furniture in empty homes and then take it out again?
You know, honestly, I think it just all started when I was younger. My mom worked at Nike and she was an event coordinator. She always threw parties, events, stuff like that. So I think I kind of just grew up into just the decorating, artistic side of that. Mm-hmm. When I first got my first home in college, I was able to decorate it myself. Absolutely loved it. So it just kind of started from there. And I don't know, did my friends' houses, my houses, and then my husband and my friends were like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you make a business out of this?
Right, versus just giving away all that skills for free?
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
So tell us a little bit about what you do when you stage. Like, how does that process work? How do you, because for people who don't maybe understand, like staging is vacant homes that we're gonna go on the market mm-hmm. and we're gonna put furniture in, take pictures, have people see with furniture, mm-hmm. and then take it back out once it sells.
Yes. So usually I like to do a consultation first to where I go in and I get to see the space, possibly meet the owners of the home, or if it's just myself, I go in, take pictures. It's crazy because my mind, once I get a project, my mind does not stop with that project. I will be at home writing down each room, what I'm going to put in each room. I could get a visual of what I have in my warehouse. And then we just go from there, where it's, I come in, I set a date, and I make the house beautiful.
Do you usually decorate and furnish every room, or what is your general rule of thumb there?
Usually we talk about the main areas of the house, which are living room, dining room, master bedroom for sure. And nowadays they kind of like to have either an office space or maybe an extra bedroom that's showable. So those are the main areas that we do, and kitchen and bathrooms as well.
Like with some fluffy cookbooks and just some little bit of
mm-hmm.
towels and things like that?
Yeah.
Got it. What would you tell people if they were getting ready to sell their house and they wanted to stage it and they knew they wanted to have it staged? What kind of preparation up front should they do? Is there anything special that they should do before you come in to have it ready for you?
Yeah, I usually would prefer or suggest depersonalizing their home, taking down pictures, personal pictures, removing clutter.
So you'll stage if they live there as well?
Yes.
Okay. So if they had some stuff, but they just didn't feel like they had quite enough, you could
mm-hmm.
do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Or you could bring it in if it was completely empty?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, whatever they have, I could, suggest removing certain items, either emptying a full room out or keeping a bed, keeping nightstands.
Right.
I can add in, fluff a couple of things in the room. But definitely depersonalizing, removing clutter, cleaning. It's nice to have a clean house to bring in my stuff as well, just because it's constantly being, put in other homes.
Right.
And usually I require nobody in the home when I'm staging, just because
mm-hmm.
I like to get in and get out.
Totally, and people are in the way and they
but it's okay. I don't mind talking. That's totally fine.
Yep. But if you can focus on it, it's a little bit better, right?
Yes,
yep.
Exactly.
I get that. I talk to my sellers a lot about the prep before we even get to that part about mm-hmm. fresh paint and new light fixtures and making sure all the light bulbs are bright and light, because that stuff will then just show off
mm-hmm.
the furniture that you bring in a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you always have a plan ahead of time, or do you go see the house and feel the space and then kind of decide what the house is saying to you? Definitely.
I like to go in and look at the space. I know sometimes there's, I could get pictures sent to me.
It's not the same though.
It's not the same.
Yep.
Yeah. I definitely consider myself a chameleon. I like to go into the space and see. I'm not stuck on one type of staging.
Okay.
So I kind of just do how I feel when I go into the space. Right. But yeah, I definitely like to go in and take a look.
What's going to really make the house shine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look the best and set the house off. And
definitely.
Yeah, I was surprised because the house you did for me in Tualatin recently, my seller was like, oh my God, did you see how big of a sofa she put in there? And it was so good.
Yeah.
And it was just also so different than when they lived there because, of course, like how they had it set up was completely different than what you did. And obviously it looked way better when you did it. But like they were so surprised. They're like, that sofa just was so big.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting, right? Like preconceived notions on how we see our space versus what might actually be better to show the use of the space.
Definitely. I think I've done a lot of homes that have been smaller rooms, but I don't know how I make it work, but I think it's just the furniture that you choose to put in there. It might just be one end table instead of two end tables. It might be a small round coffee table instead of a rectangular large or square table, just to make the room look a little bit bigger to where people are like, oh, I could actually fit my large couch that I already have. I don't have to buy a new one to fit into the space.
It is a good point because vacant homes definitely look small. Like people will say to me a lot, like, Jenny, this room's really small. I'm like, no. This bedroom's 12 by 12. That's a good size bedroom. But it's hard to picture if there's no bed, if there's no scale, if there's nothing like put there. So that is a good point.
Yes. It's kind of like you're a magician a little bit, where you can see a room and be like, oh, that doesn't work. And then you end up putting a whole bedroom set in there and they're like, oh my gosh.
It does. It actually fits, right? How long does it take you generally to stage like a normal like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot house?
I would like to say probably range between, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 hours. Okay. I am very particular in how I do things. And honestly, I do everything by myself.
Okay.
I have 2 movers that help me, but
you're the one like figuring out that's where the plant goes, that's where this goes.
Yeah, I haven't included anybody into my company yet, but it takes me about 2 to 4 hours depending. But just in case, I mean, I always say, hey, can we just wait for the photographer the next day so we can, just in case you miss something, a light bulb goes out, you got to run to Fred Meyer's or something happens.
Well, and I would imagine sometimes like you in your mind have it all pictured and then you get there and you're like, that doesn't actually work there.
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes it might be run to Home Goods or run somewhere and buy something or run back to your warehouse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's the balance.
Yeah.
I know when we said it, I always try hard to have photography the next day. Sometimes, especially since we do photography in house, I can fudge that a little bit. I'm like, hey, Christian, she's done. Go over there.
Hop over there.
But it's nice to have that option, right? And a little bit of flexibility that way.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was looking at as I was doing some research online is it was saying that houses will sell for 6 to 10% times more money when it's staged. Also, buyers are 40% more likely to walk through a house when they've seen those online pictures being staged. And I don't know if you know, but there was a little bit of time where we do some virtual staging where we'd like Photoshop in some pictures. And the feedback I would get from people afterwards was like, oh, the house didn't look as good as I thought. Because online they could see all the furniture, and then they got there and it would look tired and it would look exhausted. The one, you just did one for us out in Cornelius. And when Katie and I got to that house, one of the seller's questions was, should we stage it? And I told Katie, let's just wait. I need to see the house. I need to see the price point. I need to look at it. And when I got there, it was tired.
Yeah.
It really needed to be painted inside. And so we talked about, okay, John, you can either paint it, replace the carpet, replace this, do these things, or we can stage it. And that's going to it doesn't hide it physically. It just makes you look at the pretty furniture, right?
Yeah.
So that can be a good reason that we stage it also, just because it will make people when they walk in look at how pretty everything is.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because they don't get the furniture, right? But it still gives them an idea of what it's going to feel like.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people don't really understand the value of staging just quite yet. But I do think that it kind of, I don't know, shows them a story of how it could be like when you move into this house, Well, and nobody's story is ever going to look that good because most of us don't actually live like that, right? But it's that buyers are making such emotional decisions right now. Yeah.
I mean, in 2022, we are not making decisions based on data and comparables and appraisals and all these things, right? So buyers are having to make that emotional decision. And I'm staging more right now than I ever have before. And I was telling a seller recently that I'm like, it's not that I like staging. It's that I like the math. I like that the staged houses make my clients more money.
Yes.
And that's important. And as we're seeing more and more houses being staged, it makes it more important because if I'm showing a buyer 5 or 6 houses and 5 of them are staged and beautiful and we walk in and it's warm and the lights are on and it looks great, and then I walk into one that's tired, looks like the renter's just moved out, doesn't have any furniture in it, wasn't cleaned really well when the person moved out, they automatically discount that. And they discount it way more than the cost of some paint, some light fixtures, and some pretty furniture, right?
Yeah.
How much, is there a rule of thumb for how much staging costs? Like if it's a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and we're going to stage the main areas, about what should a seller budget for that?
Ooh, goodness. Honestly, it ranges because it depends on if I'm coming in and just rearranging their furniture.
How about vacant? If it was vacant and you're bringing everything in. Because that's what we tend to see more of.
True.
A little, I mean, at least in my world.
Yeah. If it was vacant for 2,000 square foot home, I mean, I would guess between maybe 1,400 to
2,400?
Yeah, 2,500.
I mean, depending on the range, right? Mm-hmm. Like the one we did in Tualatin was 2,200 square feet, and that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yes.
And but we had a lot of rooms there, and I wanted every room because I had you remember, an entry and a living room and a kitchen and a family room. And I wanted all that stuff staged, and I wanted that office staged.
Yes.
So that was $3,800. So it does kind of depend on what spaces.
Yeah, that's true. It depends on the space and how much, pretty much how many rooms you're going to use, the price of sale, stuff like that. So
that makes sense. You always ask me how much the house is going to sell for. And is that just because you're thinking about that clientele in mind as you're picking furniture and you're going through and doing it?
Yeah, I do. I think about that. And then also it kind of just ranges on how many rooms I'm going to do for that house. I mean, I asked the price for sale just to kind of get in my mind of how much I'm going to what types of furniture I'm going to put in there, the range, the scale of who's going to be, looking at the properties, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it honestly, there could be $1 million home and you only need a couple of rooms done, but it's me coming in and doing, fixing up, zhuzhing up their stuff.
Yep.
It could be totally different. It's not going to be, when it's empty. There's going to be a different
I think I'm going to have to start using you more for stuff when people already live there. Because that's good, and we haven't really been doing that, right?
Yeah.
But that is a nice way of kind of layering that in. Because often, and I do that. I'm like, oh no, you need a new bedspread and you need a new towel. I do a little bit of that, but I'm not very good at it, right? I'm not very good at being well, their coffee table's too big, or if you moved your sofa this way. So something like that might be a good extra layer of service on that.
Definitely. I would come in and just, even if they needed me to come right before photos and touch up things or whatever.
A little bit of the extra stuff. Okay.
I don't mind doing that.
Why do you think not everyone stages their home? Do you think it's just that perceived expense up front? Or do you think they just aren't knowledgeable that that's even an option?
I think it's, I think it might be both, a little bit of both. I think people are, obviously you have perceptions of your own home and you're like, well, my furniture is good enough. What is wrong with my furniture? So they might take a little offense to that maybe. But what I don't think they understand is that you kind of have to take, when you're selling your home, you kind of have to take yourself out of it because it's no longer going to be your home and you don't want it to be your home anymore because you want to sell it. So you kind of have to take yourself out of it. But I also think that it's the misconception of them not quite understanding maybe what we do as stagers. And then you see a price, say it's $3,000 or something, and you get that bid.
It feels like a lot.
What? Yeah. What are you going to be doing that's going to make my house is fine? So I think it's just a misconception of that, and that's why when if I do get a chance to meet some of the actual clients, I like to just say, hey, take a look at my website, take a look at my Instagram. You can see my before and afters, just to give them a little bit of sense of okay, she does know what she's doing. That's beautiful. It did kind of totally changed, the look of the house, and just to give them a little sense of comfortability with me.
And I probably should share that feedback more, right? Because I get that feedback after the fact of oh my God, Jenny, I can't believe how good my house looks. I can't believe how good the photography is. I can't believe how what people are offering for it.
Yeah.
But I probably don't pass that through enough to you, right? It
okay.
goes through. We're talking about staging today. What other services do you provide? Will you come in if I just like my house, but I don't feel like I'm good at decorating and I'm not good at putting together accents? Do you do anything where you'll come in and recommend things and buy things and place things?
For sure. My first and main focus is staging. But yes, I mean, I've done a couple of jobs where I've come in and done a consultation for somebody and they wanted to change the outside color of their home. I could do mood boards for that. I could do, one of my friends had their daughter's room, wanted me to, do a mood board for that and purchase, the items. Sometimes if they're out of state, I don't fly out there, but
sometimes it's more the ideas about it.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of now. I could be talking out of turn, but I do think a lot of the stagers or decorators, designers, they're doing online consultations and. So
Yeah,
I mean, that's something
I was talking to a friend about that, and she had, and the person was in Eugene, so not very far, but they were doing everything over like FaceTime and video and stuff, and she's like, Jenny, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Like it's hard sometimes to really get an idea of it if it's not in person.
Yeah, definitely is hard. But yeah, I don't mind coming in, and that's definitely, I mean, this is something I love to do. I love to decorate. I love, furniture, and of course my husband's just like, yes, I'm so excited. You get to buy stuff for other people. And I'm like, I know, it's not for us,
not just
right?
for you,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So somebody asked me to make sure I asked you, do you ever sell your stuff? Like, do you ever have like warehouse sales? How does that work?
You know what? I actually, one of my friends told me I should start doing that. So I am going to get into that. I think, on a time that I'm hopefully free and not as busy, I could take pictures and sell. But yeah, there are things that I do need to sell.
Well, I imagine like just freshening it up and having different things. If nothing else, just because you probably get bored.
Yeah.
With the same stuff, right? Like it's nice to have some fresh things in there.
Yes, and that's actually one of the things that I do in most of the homes, pretty much all the homes that I stage. I like to go buy something new. So
that's how you add to your inventory, kind of one house at a time.
Yeah, and maybe that's just, I don't know.
Because you like to shop.
Yeah. It might be the shopper in me is like, I just need to get something new for this home. But I do like to add at least one piece. It could be, a coffee table book. It could be a whole coffee table. The house in Tualatin, I bought multiple things. But, it's just definitely, I like to zhuzh it up a little bit, have new things. And so I don't ever want the same staging job to look similar to the last, if I can.
Yep. I mean, I will definitely tell you with the stuff that you've done for us, everyone's been very, very different, right?
Yeah.
And maybe if I look at the picture, I'd be like, oh, that's a similar thing. But overall, the feeling, the vibe always feels super different.
Oh, good. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. So you said that right now you're the company. You have some movers. How does that feel being like a business owner, a woman-owned business owner, running your own? Like, is this something you've done before? Is this your first foray into that?
This is my first time. So I am a newbie at owning businesses. Like I said, I've always been behind the camera. My husband was a professional athlete, so I was a mom. We have 5 children. So I've always kind of been in the background of things, and I still am in the background. I'm not usually in front of the camera when I stage, but just being able to start my own business and have my 4 daughters, looking up to me and being like, Mom, are you going to work today? Are you going to be able to do this? And, it feels good just to be like, hey, you guys can do this too, But it's very empowering, especially now. Like I see a lot of women-owned businesses, and it's pretty dope to be a women-owned business.
It's interesting, right? Because we technically Lovejoy is a women-owned business as well. Now Charles and I own it together, but I'm like the 51% share because it is a nice thing about it, and I'm more front-facing. I'm out in front of the clients. He's a lot more back-end operations, those parts of things. But it is kind of scary going in a business on your own, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up. My parents were self-employed. And my parents had no money. Like I had no money growing up. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we really did not have any money. And so for me in my mind, it was like being self-employed meant you had no money.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. And of course, now my mom just laughs at me because she's like, you're self-employed and you said you would never ever do that.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that I have some freedom, and I like the fact that I can pick my kid up from school, and I like the fact that I can say, no, sorry, I'm not doing this on Friday.
Yeah.
I usually just say I already have appointments. They don't have to know that the appointments might be picking up my kid and taking him somewhere or doing something with him. I'm already booked. I already have appointments that day.
Yeah.
And so it is nice to give a little bit of flexibility with the kids of I can do this, I can do that.
Exactly.
We were doing something and you're like, oh, I have to come back after my kid's in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can go home, put him to bed, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then run that last little bit of thing over there.
Yeah, and I told myself when I started this business, I said, I will never let that come in before my family. My family is always going to come first. So, there's been times where I've had to cancel a staging job because, something happened with my kids or whatever, we
have to do that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And as you grow, that gets easier, I'll tell you, because as you grow and you don't have to be the person always being there.
Yeah.
Right? Like sometimes I can be like, hey, you know what? I'd love to show you the house today, but I just can't. But Ray on my team can.
Yes.
Right? And I'm still involved and I'm still part of it, but I might not be the person now because I've been in business a lot longer than you have.
Yeah.
Where maybe somebody else can go be that point person, right?
I love that. Yeah.
And that's a nice place. Like it's the growing, right? And it's hard to know sometimes of okay, when do I hire that person? And what does that look like? And
it's a little
like,
nerve-wracking.
totally, am I going to have enough to like make them money and make them do things? And, and you know, I'm lucky in my industry because most of my agents are 1099. So it's less risky, I mean, risky in different ways to bring them on, right? But it's not like I have to hire them W-2 full-time, 40 hours a week.
Exactly, yeah.
But it might be a good opportunity for somebody looking to get into decorating, into design, into staging, to kind of mentor them and bring them up and also give you a second body, right?
Yeah, and I think I need to just step out of like my little cocoon and be like, okay, you know what? You can let somebody take on, you know, a bedroom. You can have somebody help you with the living room,
and you
whatever.
can still look at it and fix it if you don't like it,
Exactly.
right? Like you can still have that. Like, I mean, and sometimes like, even with my marketing department, sometimes I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you hired me, Jenny. I'm like, I know, but I'm just like, I just don't like it. And so, but it is part of that, right? It's like letting go a little bit.
Yeah.
And the reward there is you're helping them grow.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that does have a lot of benefit to it.
Yeah, I do have, I would say one of my daughters is definitely into rearranging, decorating, stuff like that. So, you know, every now and then you will see on my video, I brought my son a couple of times to staging and he'll be running around. Or I brought two of my daughters to my staging before and they've helped me kind of put pillows and stuff like that, little accessories around. But yeah, family comes first. So I am definitely, you know, I would love to have my kids be involved with my staging, but if not, that's okay. But
mine wants to be a YouTuber.
Okay. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping maybe we'll grow out of that. I don't know. He keeps telling me YouTubers make a lot of money, so
they do.
They can.
Yeah.
I don't know the like. We'll see. I mean, he's 15. I feel like we have some room to like
the growth of
to grow through it. But I will certainly like when he turns 18, like him getting his real estate license and he can just help me on the side, home from college, things like that. That would be great, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard though as we push like, okay, these are our passions, and what's our kids going to grow into, and what are they going to like, and how are they going to play through it, right?
Yeah. But you know, as long as they have a backup, if they want to do something, and in that aspect, then you have a whole company that you can, you know, take on. When
I was young, my parents owned a print shop that was they were self-employed, and I could go to work for them anytime I wanted to.
Yeah.
And they would pay me, and like it was boring work. And I remember one summer I went to my mom and I'm like, okay, I don't want to work for you this summer. I'm going to pick strawberries. All my friends pick strawberries. That's what they do. I'm going to pick strawberries. I made it one day, like legit one day. It was the hardest freaking thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I came home, I'm like, I don't ever want to pick strawberries again. Can I please work for you?
Can I please come back, please?
They're like, yeah, you can come collate the stuff. But like, it is nice to have those options, right? And like I tell Ryan, if you want to make some money, awesome, help me with those Popeyes, or help me do this, or help me stuff envelopes. Like there's always something he can do to step up.
Yeah.
And that's starting to teach some of those work ethic. If you want money, you work hard. It doesn't just come to you. It doesn't just magically happen.
Oh yeah, that's like a constant reminder in our family. It's like, you know, you eating all the cereal. Where does the cereal come from? Where do your clothes come from?
The magical money tree. Don't you know the magical money tree?
I did back when I was younger, their age. I did know the magical money tree, but now I realize it's...
And it's something when they see you go to work and when they see you do things, that's different than you telling them.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Like watching them do that. And, you know, my kiddo's in private school and we talk a lot about like, that's a luxury.
Yeah.
That's not required. And he loves it. He really is happy. He thinks it's the best match for him ever. But I'm like, part of the reason I have to go work on Saturday is I got to pay for your private school.
Yeah.
So like roll with me a little bit and be a little flexible and be a little understanding. And mine's old. I think, how old are your kids?
19, 13, 10, 7, and almost 2 years old.
So upper end can understand that.
Yes.
Lower end probably can't quite understand that, right?
Yeah.
But like Ryan's old at 15, he's old enough to like not completely understand everything, but he gets it.
He gets the gist, yeah.
Totally, and he understands that like if he wants to stay there, he has to work hard. If he wants to stay there, I have to work hard.
Yeah.
Like it's everybody accomplishing those goals down the same path. So
it was. I do have to say one good, a really exciting moment was I had it was a 2,100 square foot warehouse over in Hillsborough. And it was very dark and, you know, it was very warehouse-ish. And when I first moved in, it was super exciting just because I had my own space.
Yep.
And then as I kept growing with my business, I'm just like, whoa, I got to get out of here. Like, it's too much. I couldn't have my kids come. Like, it was...
There were rules around it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just recently, I moved into a 6,400 square foot warehouse that is beautiful and is wide open. My kids could be running around.
Yep.
And to see the look on their face, to know that how hard I worked to get to be able to purchase this was really, I don't know, it was one of those moments where you're just like, maybe they get it, maybe they understand,
Right.
and because there are times like I'm used to picking them up, I'm used to like doing things with them, and now I've kind of like cut back a little bit. I still pick them up from school, but the dropping off Dad does today, this time because I have to leave in the morning.
And
so
even if we're putting family first, putting family first doesn't mean we always do the things.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes putting family first is going out and making some money,
Yeah,
paying the bills,
definitely.
being a professional. And so it's that, like, we all walk that balance, right? Of
Yeah.
like, what does that look like, and how are we together as a partnership getting them where they need to go?
Yeah. No, my husband and I are a great team. I mean, it's been great to where, I can leave early in the morning and he takes the kids, and
Yep.
it's a ebb and flow, and we got it. We're on the same path, and it works. It's great.
Yeah.
So
Nope, we're lucky that way, because Charles and I do very
Yeah.
similar things, and it's like, who's picking them up, who's doing this, where are you going, how are you doing
Exactly.
that? Most of the time we share our calendars really well, not today so much obviously as an earlier conversation, but most of the time we're good about that, right?
Yeah.
And because you have to, because how do you run a business, and how do you move the needle, and then how do you accomplish everything else you have
Yeah.
to do in life, right?
exactly.
Courtney, thank you so much for coming today. Jenny Turner with Lovejoy Real Estate. If you have questions about buying or selling a home, please reach out. Jenny at lovejoyrealestate.com, 503-312-4642.
Thank you again for having me. If you guys have any other questions about staging, home decorating, you can always reach me at 503-953-4868 and cwdecorating.com. And my Instagram is cwdecorating.
Awesome. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.